Taman stepped off the transport shuttle and froze. The Galactic Assembly Station stretched before him like a city floating in space. Massive towers of crystal and metal twisted into impossible shapes. Aliens of every size and color moved through the corridors. Some walked on two legs, others floated. A few crawled along the walls with dozens of limbs. His hands shook slightly as he gripped his documentation tablet. After 300 years of humanity living alone among the stars, they finally received an invitation. The Galactic Assembly wanted Earth to join. Taman was the newest human diplomat sent to make it work. "Stay calm," he whispered to himself. "Just follow the protocols." A floating sphere approached him. It spoke in perfect Korean through some kind of translator. "Human Delegate Taman, follow." The sphere led him through corridors filled with aliens who stopped to stare. Taman heard whispers in languages his translator couldn't decode. He caught words like emotional and unstable and primitive. His chest tightened, but he kept his face neutral. The sphere stopped at a massive door. The assembly chamber. "Your orientation begins now. Remember, Protocol 1, no physical contact. Protocol 2, no emotional displays. Protocol 3, no frivolous communication. Efficiency is harmony. Harmony is peace." The door opened. Inside, the chamber was enormous. Hundreds of aliens sat in curved rows that spiraled upward. At the center stood a platform. Waiting on that platform was the most beautiful being Taman had ever seen. She was tall and slender, shaped roughly like a human, but made of something like living crystal. Patterns of light moved under her transparent skin, shifting through blues and purples. Her face was smooth, with features that seemed almost human, but perfect in a way that made his breath catch. "Human Taman," she said. Her voice was cold and precise. "I am Hyri of the Velkari Empire. I will be your primary contact and protocol supervisor." Taman bowed slightly, remembering that was acceptable. "Thank you for receiving me." "Gratitude is inefficient," Hyri said. The lights under her skin pulsed once sharply. "We begin your training immediately. You have already violated Protocol 3 with unnecessary words." Heat rose in Taman's face. "I apologize." "Apology is also inefficient. Simply comply." Hyeri turned to face the assembled aliens. "Observer species. This human will demonstrate the integration protocols." For the next 4 hours, Taman learned what it meant to be part of the Galactic Assembly. He learned that speaking without being prompted was forbidden. He learned that asking questions about personal matters was considered invasive. He learned that showing any emotion stronger than mild interest was seen as dangerous instability. "Your species, an alien that looked like a collection of floating rocks," explained, "suffered many wars because of emotions. So did ours. So did everyone. We learned to control ourselves, to become logical, efficient. This is civilization." Taman wanted to argue. He wanted to say that emotions made life worth living, but he stayed silent. Hyeri watched him constantly. Every time he moved, she made notes on a data crystal. Every time he breathed too heavily, her lights pulsed. By the end of the session, Taman felt like he was suffocating. "Training concludes," Hyeri announced. "Human Taman performed adequately. Violations, 12. Acceptable for first contact. Dismissed." The chamber emptied quickly. Taman stood alone on the platform, exhausted. He hadn't realized how much energy it took to suppress every natural human reaction. "You are still here," Hyeri's voice came from behind him. Taman turned. She stood at the edge of the platform, her lights dim. "I was just leaving." "You hesitate. Why?" It was a direct question, so Taman could answer. "This is very different from human culture. I'm trying to understand." "Understanding is not required. Compliance is required." But Hyeri didn't move. Her lights flickered slightly. "You find our ways strange." "Yes," Taman admitted, "but I will learn." For a long moment, Hyeri stared at him. Her lights cycled through several colors Taman hadn't seen before. Then she turned away. Report to Sector 7 tomorrow. We will review trade agreements. Do not be late. She left without waiting for a response. Taman found his assigned quarters. A small room with a bed, desk, and window showing the stars. He collapsed onto the bed and stared at the ceiling. His mind kept returning to Hyrie, not just her appearance, but the way her lights had changed when he said he would learn. Was that a reaction? Did these logical aliens still feel things they refused to acknowledge? The next morning, Taman met Do-hyun, his human cultural liaison. Do-hyun had been on the station for 2 years. You look terrible, Do-hyun said, handing him a cup of coffee. Real coffee, smuggled from Earth. Thanks, Taman said, drinking deeply. Is it always like this? Like what? Like walking on broken glass. Like every word might end humanity's chance at the stars. Do-hyun sighed. Yeah, it is. 15 human diplomats came before us. All of them were sent home for protocol violations. Smiling at the wrong time. Asking someone how they felt. Trying to shake hands. He paused. One guy told a joke. They almost expelled humanity entirely. So I just have to be a robot. You have to be what they expect. Logical, cold, efficient. Do-hyun looked sad. I know it's hard. I miss laughing too. Later, Taman reported to Sector 7. Hyrie was already there, surrounded by floating data displays. She didn't acknowledge him as he entered. Sit, she said, not looking up. We review resource allocation for the Outer Rim territories. They worked in silence for hours. Hyrie's lights moved in rhythm with the data, creating patterns that were almost hypnotic. Taman found himself watching her more than the information. You are distracted, Hyrie said suddenly. Sorry, I will focus. State the reason for distraction. Taman hesitated. Then he decided on honesty. I was watching your lights, the patterns they make. Hyrie's entire body went still. Her lights froze mid-pattern. Observation of physical characteristics serves no function. I know. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. Her lights flickered rapidly, chaotically. Your species finds visual input compelling. This is documented. It is a weakness. Maybe, Taman said quietly, but it's also part of being human. Hyrie didn't respond, but her lights didn't resume their normal patterns for several minutes. Over the following weeks, Taman and Hyrie worked together frequently. She was assigned to monitor his integration progress. He learned that she was considered one of the Valkyrie's best diplomats. Logical, precise, never deviating from protocol. But Taman noticed small things. The way she arranged data crystals on her workspace, creating symmetrical patterns that weren't required. The way her lights dimmed slightly when other aliens spoke dismissively about humans. The way she sometimes paused before correcting his mistakes, as if reluctant. One evening, after a particularly long session, Taman went to the observation deck to clear his mind. The deck was empty, except for one figure standing by the window. Hyrie. She didn't turn as he approached. Her lights were dim, cycling slowly through deep blues and purples. She was looking at Earth, a blue marble visible in the distance. I should report you for following me, she said softly. I didn't follow you. I just needed air. There is no air here. The station is pressurized. It's a human expression. It means I needed space to think. Inefficient use of language. But Hyrie still didn't leave. They stood together in silence, watching Earth turn slowly in the dark. Do you miss it? Hyrie asked. Your world! Every day, Taman admitted. Her lights pulsed once, strongly. Then she walked away without another word. Taman watched her go and wondered what that pulse meant. Taman's second month on the station was harder than the first. The rules felt heavier each day. He learned to keep his face blank during meetings. He learned to speak only when directly addressed. He learned to suppress every smile, every frown, every natural human reaction. It was killing him slowly. You need to try harder, Do-hyun said during one of their private meetings. They met in Do-hyun's quarters where no one monitored them. Here, they could be human. The assembly is watching you closely. One major violation and they'll send you home. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad, Taemin muttered. It would be terrible. If you fail, they might not send another diplomat for decades. Humanity would be alone again. Do-hyun poured them both tea. I know it's hard, but think of everyone back home counting on us. Taemin knew he was right. He took the tea and forced himself to focus. His daily sessions with Hyeri continued. She remained cold and professional, but Taemin kept noticing small details. The way she organized her workspace had become more elaborate. The data crystals formed intricate geometric patterns that served no logical purpose. Her lights seemed to respond to his presence now, brightening slightly when he entered and dimming when he left. Or maybe he was imagining it. Maybe isolation was making him see patterns that didn't exist. One afternoon, they worked in a small conference room, reviewing planetary survey data. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of the station's systems. The mineral deposits on Kepler 442b exceed projected estimates, Hyeri said, manipulating a holographic display. Human mining operations could begin within 6 months. That's good news for Earth, Taemin said carefully. Good is a subjective evaluation. The data simply exists. Right, of course. Hyeri's lights flickered. She turned to look at him directly. You disagree. No, I just think differently. To humans, good and bad aren't subjective. They're how we understand the world. An inefficient system. Maybe, but it's ours. They returned to work. But Taemin noticed Hyeri's lights continued flickering irregularly. Something was bothering her, if she could even be bothered. Later that week, Taemin met Eunji, a human xenobiologist who studied alien cultures. She worked in a research lab deep in the station's lower levels. Her workspace was cluttered with books and data tablets, a mess that would horrify the assembly's neat protocols. I've been reading about the Valkyrie, Eunji said, pulling up files on her computer. Something doesn't add up. What do you mean? Look at this. She showed him historical records. 5,000 years ago, the Valkyrie had art, music, literature. They wrote poetry. They celebrated festivals. They were emotional beings just like humans. Taemin leaned closer to the screen. What happened? About 3,000 years ago, everything changed. All cultural production stopped. Their language simplified. They adopted strict protocols. Eunji pulled up more files. The official history says they evolved beyond emotion, but evolution doesn't work that fast. So what are you saying? I think they chose this. They engineered themselves to remove emotions. The question is why? Taemin thought about Hyeri's flickering lights, and if the engineering isn't perfect, then maybe the emotions are still there, buried, waiting. That night, Taemin couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Hyeri standing in the observation deck, looking at Earth. She had asked if he missed his home. That was curiosity. That was interest. That was emotional. The next day, during their session, Taemin decided to test something. Hyeri, can I ask you a question? She didn't look up from her work. State the question. Why did you become a diplomat? Her lights froze. The question is irrelevant to our work. I know, I'm just curious about you. Curiosity about individuals is inefficient. Probably, but I'm still curious. For a long moment, Hyeri didn't move. Then her lights resumed their patterns, faster than before. I was designated for diplomatic service based on aptitude testing. Choice was not involved. But do you like it? Like is not applicable. I perform my function. That sounds lonely, Taemin said quietly. Hyeri's hands stopped moving. Her lights cycled through colors rapidly, chaotically. Loneliness is an error in emotional processing. I do not experience errors, but the way her lights moved suggested otherwise. Over the following weeks, something shifted between them. Hyeri still maintained perfect protocol in public, but during their private work sessions, she began asking questions. Why do humans celebrate birthdays? She asked one day. To mark the passage of time, to celebrate that someone exists. Existence requires no celebration. It simply is. But celebrating makes it mean something. Her lights pulsed. Meaning is subjective. Yes, Taman agreed. That's what makes it valuable. Another time, she asked about laughter. Why do humans make that sound? The one where they expel air rapidly? Taman demonstrated by chuckling softly. It's how we express joy, or sometimes nervousness, or recognition of something absurd. One sound has multiple meanings? That is inefficient. Context matters. The same word can mean different things depending on how you say it. Hyeri was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Show me." Taman blinked. "Show you what?" "The sound? Different contexts?" So Taman laughed for her. A happy laugh, a nervous laugh, a sarcastic laugh, each one different in tone and feeling. Hyeri's lights danced through patterns he'd never seen before. "Fascinating," she whispered. Then she seemed to catch herself. I mean, the data is noted, but Taman had heard that first word, fascinating. That was wonder? That was emotion? Dohan noticed the change in Taman. "You seem happier," he said during one of their meetings. "Do I?" "Yeah, less like you're being slowly crushed." "What changed?" Taman thought about how to explain. "I think Hyeri might not be as logical as she pretends." Dohyun's expression grew serious. "Be careful. If she's your friend, that's wonderful. But if she's testing you, if this is some kind of trap to catch you breaking protocol, it's not a trap." "How do you know?" Taman didn't have a good answer, but he believed it anyway. Their work sessions grew longer. Hyeri began staying after the required time, asking more questions about human culture. She wanted to know about families, about friendship, about love. "Explain love," she said one evening. "That's complicated," Taman said. "Provide a simple definition. Love is caring about someone else's happiness as much as your own, maybe more." Hyeri's lights dimmed to almost nothing. "That sounds painful." "Sometimes it is, but it's also the best thing humans do." "Why would anyone choose pain?" "Because the joy is worth it." Hyeri turned away from him. Her lights flickered rapidly, chaotically. "I do not understand." "That's okay. It takes time. Time is a resource. Spending it on understanding emotions is inefficient. Then why do you keep asking about them?" Hyeri didn't answer. But she didn't leave either. One night, Taman found her in the observation deck again. This time, she wasn't looking at Earth. She was looking at her own reflection in the window. "Are you all right?" Taman asked. "Define all right." "Are you okay? Do you feel well?" "Feel is not a function I perform." But her lights were flickering in ways that looked distressed. "I have been experiencing errors in my processing. My lights respond to stimuli they should ignore. I allocate resources to thoughts that serve no purpose. I find myself anticipating our sessions when logic dictates they are merely obligations." Taman's heart beat faster. "Hyeri, those aren't errors." "Then what are they?" "They're feelings. You're feeling things." Her lights exploded into brilliant colors, cycling through the entire spectrum. "That is impossible. The Velkari eliminated feelings 3,000 years ago. We are beyond such primitive functions. Maybe you were never as beyond them as you thought." Hyeri turned to face him. Her lights were so bright they illuminated the entire deck. "If what you say is true, I am malfunctioning. I should report to medical services for recalibration." "Please don't," Taman said. The words came out urgent, almost desperate. "There's nothing wrong with you. You're just waking up." "Waking up?" Hyeri repeated softly. Her lights began to dim, settling into a deep, pulsing blue. "That is a metaphor." "Yes. Metaphors are inefficient." "Yes. But I understand it anyway." She looked at him. Really looked at him, for the first time since they'd met. This is your fault. I know, Taman said. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. But there was no coldness in her voice now, just confusion and maybe fear. What is happening to me? You're becoming yourself again. Hayeri's lights flickered once, twice, then steadied into a pattern that looked almost peaceful. I do not know if that is good or bad. Neither do I, Taman admitted, but I'm glad it's happening. They stood together in the darkness, watching the stars, and neither of them reported the protocol violations they were committing just by being there. 3 months into his assignment, Taman had learned to exist in 2 worlds. In public, he was the perfect diplomat, cold, logical, efficient. In private, during his sessions with Hayeri, he was human. And somehow, Hayeri was becoming human too. The work they did together had become almost secondary. Yes, they reviewed trade agreements and planetary surveys, but between the data and protocols, they talked about everything. Hayeri asked about human childhood. Taman told her about scraped knees and birthday parties. She asked about friendship. He told her about his best friend from university, someone he hadn't spoken to in months because communication with Earth was limited and expensive. You miss this friend, Hayeri observed. Every day. Missing someone serves no function. They still exist, whether you think of them or not. But thinking of them reminds me that I'm not alone, even when I am. Hayeri's lights pulsed softly. I think I understand that now. Their sessions stretched longer each week. Hayeri stopped filing her hourly reports. She stopped monitoring his protocol compliance. They just talked. And Taman realized he was in trouble. He was starting to care about her, not just as a colleague or a curiosity. He looked forward to seeing her. He worried about her when other Valkyrie gave her strange looks. He noticed that her lights brightened when he entered a room. Do-hyun warned him constantly. You're getting attached, Do-hyun said. That's dangerous. I know. Do you? Because if the assembly finds out that you're influencing her, that you're causing her to malfunction, they won't just send you home. They might punish her. She's not malfunctioning. She's just feeling things. To them, that's the same thing. Taman knew he was right, but he couldn't stop. One evening, they worked late in their usual conference room. It was past midnight station time. The corridors outside were empty. It felt like they were the only 2 beings in the universe. They'd been reviewing resource allocation for hours. Taman's eyes were tired. The numbers blurred together. He rubbed his face and yawned. You should rest, Hayeri said. I'm fine. We need to finish this. The work will exist tomorrow. Your health is more important. Taman looked at her in surprise. Did you just prioritize my well-being over efficiency? Hayeri's lights flickered. I made a logical observation. Tired workers make errors. Sure, that's all it was. Do not mock me. I'm not mocking you. I'm teasing you. It's different. Explain the difference. Mocking is mean. Teasing is affectionate. Affectionate, Hayeri repeated slowly. Affection is caring expressed through action. Yes. And you are expressing affection toward me. Yes, Taman said quietly. Hayeri went very still. Her lights dimmed to almost nothing. Why? Because I like you. Because you're brave. Because watching you discover feelings is like watching a sunrise. That is a metaphor. Yes. You use many metaphors when speaking to me. I do. Why? Because metaphors express things that literal language can't. Feelings are complicated. They need complicated words. Hayeri's lights began to brighten again, cycling through soft blues and greens. I have been studying human literature, she admitted. In private, poetry, stories. They are full of metaphors. Do you like them? Like is no longer an irrelevant concept to me, she said softly. Yes, I like them. They make me feel things that have no name in my language. What kinds of things? Hayeri turned to face him fully. Her lights pulsed in rhythm with words Taman couldn't understand. Longing, curiosity, fear, joy, all mixed together until I cannot separate them. When I am with you, my processing becomes chaotic. I allocate resources to remembering your words. I anticipate your reactions. I have begun to arrange my appearance in patterns I think you might find appealing. Taemin's breath caught. Hyeri, I am experiencing errors constantly now. Other Velkari have noticed. They ask me questions about my patterns. I lie to them. Lying was not possible for me before. Deception required emotions I did not have. You're not broken, Taemin said urgently. You're becoming whole. How do you know? Because you're becoming yourself. The self, your people, buried 3,000 years ago. Hyeri's lights began cycling faster. This is your fault. You spoke to me. You showed me human things. You made me want to understand. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. Her lights flared brilliantly. I am not sorry. I am terrified. I am confused. But I am not sorry. They stared at each other across the table. The conference room felt smaller suddenly, more intimate. I have been thinking, Hyeri said slowly, about the compliments humans give each other. The way you express appreciation for someone's appearance or actions. I have been wondering what it would feel like to receive such words. Taemin's heart pounded. You want me to compliment you? I want to understand the experience. Okay. Taemin took a breath. He knew this was dangerous. He knew he was crossing a line they couldn't uncross. But he also knew he couldn't stop himself. Your lights are beautiful. The way they move when you think is like watching music. You're brilliant and brave and kind, and I look forward to seeing you every day. Hyeri's lights froze completely. For a moment, she was perfectly still, like a statue of crystal and light. Then she said, "In my appearance? You mentioned once that you observed my patterns. What is your evaluation?" "My evaluation," Taemin said softly, "is that you look very pretty today." The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Hyeri's lights exploded into colors Taemin had never seen. Brilliant golds and silvers mixed with deep crimsons and purples. The patterns moved so fast, they left trails in the air. Her whole body seemed to vibrate with energy. "What?" she whispered. "What is this?" "I don't know. What do you feel?" "Everything. All at once. My processing is overwhelmed. I feel like I am expanding and contracting simultaneously. Like I am too large for my form. Like I am burning and freezing. It hurts. It feels wonderful. I want it to stop. I want it to continue forever." Her lights continued their chaotic dance. They reflected off the walls, filling the room with impossible colors. "Taemin," she said, her voice shaking, "I think I am malfunctioning severely. I should report to medical immediately." "Wait." Taemin stood and moved toward her. "Just wait. Breathe. Can you breathe? My species does not require conscious breathing regulation." "Then just be still. Let it pass through you." "It is too much." "I know, but you can handle it." Hyeri's lights continued their wild patterns for several more minutes. Gradually, they began to slow. The colors became less chaotic, settling into a pulsing pattern of deep blues and soft golds. "It is subsiding," she said quietly. "Good." "No, not good. That was the most overwhelming experience of my existence." She looked at him, and despite having no human facial expressions, Taemin could see wonder in her posture. "And I want to experience it again." "Hyeri, we need to be careful." "Why? You have been teaching me about feelings for months. This is a feeling, is it not? A response to positive attention, to being seen and appreciated. This is what humans experience constantly? Some version of it, yes. How do you survive? How does anyone accomplish anything when emotions are so consuming? We learn to live with them. They become part of us. We don't fight them. Hyeri's lights dimmed slightly. My people fought them. We eliminated them because we feared them. The historical records Unji found are correct. We chose this. We chose emptiness because we could not handle fullness. But you're handling it now. Am I? Or am I simply breaking? I think you're healing. Hyrie moved closer to him, her lights reflected in his eyes. When you said those words, "You look very pretty today," something changed in my fundamental processing. I cannot return to what I was before, even if I wanted to. Even if I reported for recalibration, some part of me has been altered permanently. Are you angry with me? I do not know. I am many things simultaneously. Anger might be among them, but so is gratitude and something else, something I have no word for. What does it feel like? Like I want to be near you. Like your presence creates a state of calm and excitement simultaneously. Like I would choose your company over efficiency or logic or protocol. Her lights pulsed softly. What is the human word for this? Taemin's mouth was dry. There are several words: affection, attachment, fondness, and stronger words? Yes. Tell me. Caring, love, devotion. Hyrie's lights flickered rapidly. I am not ready for those words, but I think I am experiencing the earliest stages of what they describe. The alarm on Taemin's tablet chirped. 6 in the morning. Their session had lasted all night. I should go, Taemin said, before anyone sees us here together. Yes, that would be logical. But neither of them moved. Finally, Hyrie stepped back. Thank you, she said softly, for the words, for the experience, for showing me what I could be. Thank you for being brave enough to feel them. Hyrie left first. Taemin waited 5 minutes, then followed. As he walked back to his quarters through the empty corridors, he realized everything had changed. They had crossed a line. There was no going back now. And somewhere in the station, he knew security systems had recorded their entire conversation. The question was whether anyone would review the footage. Whether anyone would see what had happened in that conference room. Whether anyone would realize that a human had just cracked the foundation of Valkyrie society with 3 simple words. You look very pretty today. Taemin didn't see Hyrie for 3 days. She didn't appear at their scheduled sessions. She didn't respond to official communications. Her workspace remained empty. Do-hyun found him on the 2nd day, looking worried. Have you heard? Do-hyun asked. Heard what? The Valkyrie delegation held an emergency meeting. Apparently, one of their diplomats is experiencing severe malfunctions. They're talking about sending her back to their homeworld for recalibration. Taemin's blood went cold. Who? They didn't say names, but everyone knows it's Hyrie. She's been acting strange for weeks. Other Valkyrie have been reporting her behavior. What kind of behavior? Irregular light patterns, delayed responses, questions that serve no logical purpose. Do-hyun looked at Taemin carefully. Do you know anything about this? Taemin wanted to lie, but he was tired of lying. Yes, it's because of me. We've been talking about human things, about feelings. Oh no. Do-hyun sat down heavily. Taemin, do you understand what you've done? If they find out you've been influencing her, corrupting her programming, they'll expel humanity from the assembly. Everything we've worked for will be gone. She's not corrupted. She's free. To them, it's the same thing. That night, Taemin couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Hyrie. Was she scared? Was she being hurt? Did they force her to undergo some procedure to make her empty again? On the morning of the 4th day, his door chimed. When he opened it, Hyrie stood there. She looked wrong. Her lights were dim and moved in rigid, mechanical patterns. Her posture was stiff. When she spoke, her voice was flat and emotionless in a way it hadn't been for weeks. Human Taemin, I am here to deliver official notification. Our working relationship is terminated. You will be assigned a new Valkyrie supervisor. I am being transferred to different duties. Hyrie, what happened? Are you okay? I am functioning within normal parameters. No, you're not. You're different. Did they do something to you? Her lights flickered once, just once, breaking the rigid pattern. I have been reminded of my obligations to Valkyrie society. I was experiencing errors in judgment, Those errors have been corrected. Corrected how? That is not your concern. Taman stepped closer. Hayeri, please, talk to me. Really, talk to me. There is nothing to discuss. This conversation is over. She turned to leave. Wait, Taman said. I need to know. Do you remember what we talked about? The feelings you were having? Hayeri stopped. Her lights went completely dark for a moment. When they returned, they flickered weakly. I remember everything, she said quietly. That is the problem. They cannot make me forget. They can only make me suppress. Then don't suppress. Fight it. You do not understand. If I continue on this path, I will be removed from service. I will be recalibrated by force, and they will investigate you. They will find out that you caused this. Humanity will be expelled from the assembly because of what you did to me. I didn't do anything to you. You did this yourself. You chose to feel. Choice is an illusion. We are all products of our programming. That's not true, and you know it. Hayeri's lights flickered rapidly for just a moment, showing colors that shouldn't exist in Velkari biology. Then they settled back into dim, mechanical patterns. Goodbye, Taman. I hope your next supervisor serves you better. She left. The door closed behind her. Taman stood there for a long time, staring at nothing. The next week was terrible. His new supervisor was a Velkari named Jinwoo, who was even more rigid than Hayeri had been at first. Every interaction was pure protocol, no deviation, no curiosity, no warmth. Taman went through the motions. He attended meetings. He reviewed documents. He said the right things at the right times. But inside, he felt hollow. Unji found him in the research library one evening. You look awful, she said. Thanks. I heard about Hayeri. I'm sorry. Yeah? Unji sat down across from him. I've been doing more research about what happened to the Velkari. I think I figured out why they eliminated emotions. I don't care. You should, because it's important. She pulled up files on her tablet. 3,000 years ago, the Velkari had a massive civil war. It lasted for 200 years. Billions died. The war started because of a religious disagreement, but it was sustained by hatred, fear, and anger. When it finally ended, the survivors decided emotions were too dangerous, so they used genetic engineering to remove them. They thought they were preventing future suffering. They just created a different kind of suffering. Yes, but they don't see it that way. To them, emptiness is safety. Unji leaned forward. But here's the thing. The genetic modifications aren't permanent. Each generation needs reinforcement treatments. And according to medical records I shouldn't have access to, the treatments are becoming less effective. More Velkari are experiencing emotional breakthroughs with each generation. So Hayeri isn't alone? No, there are others. They're all being quietly recalibrated. But the Velkari government is worried. If too many start feeling at once, their entire society could collapse. Taman thought about this. What happens if they can't stop it? If the emotions come back, whether they want them or not? I don't know, but I think we're about to find out. 2 weeks after Hayeri disappeared, Taman received an unexpected message. It was marked urgent and encrypted. When he opened it, there was only a location and a time. The observation deck, midnight. He knew he should ignore it. This had trap written all over it. But he went anyway. The observation deck was dark, except for starlight. At first, Taman thought he was alone. Then he saw her. Hayeri stood by the window, her lights completely dark. She looked like a statue carved from dead crystal. You came, she said without turning. You called. I should not have. This meeting is a violation of direct orders. If anyone discovers we were here together, I will be forcibly recalibrated. You will be expelled. Then why did you call me? Finally, she turned. Even in the darkness, Taman could see her lights were different. They flickered erratically, showing brief flashes of color before going dark again. Because I am breaking, she said, The suppression treatments are failing. Every day I feel more. Every day the emotions grow stronger. I can no longer maintain the appearance of normalcy. Soon, everyone will know. Then stop fighting it. Let it happen. You do not understand what you are asking. If I surrender to these feelings completely, I will not be the Hyrie you knew. I will be something new, something my people have not seen in 3,000 years. I will be unpredictable, unstable. I will be human. Would that be so bad? Her lights flared suddenly, brilliantly, filling the deck with color. Yes, because I do not know how to be that. I was raised to be logical, efficient, empty. Now you have filled me with things I cannot name, feelings I cannot control, and I am terrified. The colors swirled around her like a storm. Reds and oranges mixed with blues and purples. Her whole body seemed to vibrate. Hyrie, breathe. I told you, my species does not require conscious breathing. Then just talk to me. Tell me what you feel. I feel everything. I feel anger at my people for what they did to us. I feel sadness for the 3,000 years we lost. I feel fear of what will happen to me. I feel joy when I think about our conversations. I feel longing for your presence even when you are standing in front of me. I feel confused and overwhelmed and alive, and it is too much. Her lights exploded into pure white brilliance. The entire deck lit up like day. Then they went completely dark. Hyrie collapsed. Taemin caught her before she hit the floor. She was surprisingly light. Her crystal body was cool against his hands. Hyrie? Hyrie? Can you hear me? Her lights flickered weakly. I can hear you. What happened? System overload. My biology cannot process so many emotions at once. I am shutting down. No, stay with me, please. Taemin! Her voice was barely a whisper. You asked me what those words meant, the compliment. You look very pretty today. Yes, I understand now. They meant you saw me, not as a function or a tool, but as an individual, as someone valuable. That is why they affected me so strongly. For the first time in my existence, someone looked at me and saw beauty instead of utility. That's because you are beautiful. Her lights pulsed once, weakly. I need to ask you something. The emotions I feel toward you, the wanting to be near you, the way my processing focuses on you constantly. What is the human word for these specific feelings? Taemin's throat was tight. There are different words depending on intensity. Give me the strongest word. Love. Love, Hyrie repeated. I think I am experiencing love. How do humans survive this? It is destroying me. Because it's worth it. Because loving someone makes life meaningful. Even if it hurts? Especially then. Hyrie's lights began to brighten again slowly. I have a choice to make. I can return to the medical facility, undergo full recalibration, become empty again, or I can continue feeling, knowing it will likely kill me or force my exile from Valkyrie society. What do you want to do? Her lights cycled through every color in the spectrum, then settled into a steady, pulsing pattern of gold and blue. I want to feel, even if it destroys me, because these past months have been more real than my entire existence before them. She stood up slowly, her lights growing stronger. But I will not make this choice alone. There are others like me, other Valkyrie, who are experiencing emotional breakthroughs. If we stand together, they cannot silence us all. That sounds dangerous. Yes, it is. Her lights formed patterns that looked almost like a smile. But you humans do dangerous things all the time in pursuit of what matters. I think I am beginning to understand why. She moved toward the exit, then paused. Taemin, thank you for seeing me, for speaking those words, for breaking me open so I could finally be whole. You're welcome. And Hyrie, yes, you look very pretty today. Her lights blazed brilliant gold. And for the first time, Taemin heard her laugh. It was a strange sound, crystalline and musical, and utterly human in its joy. The summons came 3 days later, not for Taman, but for Hyeri. The entire Velkari delegation demanded her presence before the High Council. They were going to force her recalibration, whether she wanted it or not. Dohyun burst into Taman's quarters early that morning. "Have you heard? They're taking Hyeri today. They're going to erase everything that makes her herself." "I won't let them." "You can't stop them. You have no authority here. If you interfere, they'll expel humanity from the assembly permanently. Then they'll expel us. I'm not going to stand by while they destroy her." "Taman, listen to yourself. You're willing to sacrifice humanity's future for one alien?" "Yes," Taman said simply, "because if we can't stand up for someone who matters to us, then what's the point of being here at all? What kind of civilization are we joining if we have to watch people be destroyed just to belong?" Dohyun stared at him. Then, slowly, he smiled. "You know what? You're right. Humanity didn't survive this long by keeping quiet. We survived by being stubborn and loud and refusing to accept that things have to be the way they are. So you'll help me? I'm probably going to regret this, but yes. What's the plan?" "I don't have one yet." "Great. Just great." Unji joined them an hour later. She brought all her research on Velkari biology and culture. "If we're going to stop this, we need evidence. We need to prove that what's happening to Hyeri isn't a malfunction. It's natural. It's their own biology trying to correct itself." They worked frantically, pulling together data from medical records, historical archives, and genetic studies. By noon, they had built a case. The Velkari genetic modifications were breaking down. More members of their species were experiencing emotional breakthroughs with each generation. Suppressing it was becoming harder and more dangerous. "This is happening whether they want it or not," Unji said. "The question is whether they'll fight it and destroy people like Hyeri or accept it and evolve." "How do we present this to the council?" Taman asked. "We don't," Dohyun said. "We present it to everyone." The Galactic Assembly met at 2 in the afternoon. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the enormous chamber. The Velkari High Council sat at the center, waiting for Hyeri to be brought before them. Taman entered the chamber without authorization. Security systems immediately flagged his presence. Alarms sounded. "Human Taman," a voice boomed. "You do not have clearance for this session. Leave immediately or face removal from the station." "No," Taman said clearly. His voice echoed through the chamber. "I'm here to speak for someone who can't speak for herself." The chamber erupted in confusion. Aliens of every species shouted in their languages. The translator system struggled to keep up. "This is a violation of assembly protocol," a Velkari representative shouted. "Security, remove him." "Wait!" The voice came from the chamber entrance. Hyeri walked in. She should have been in medical containment. She should have been sedated and prepared for recalibration. Instead, she walked freely. And she was not alone. Behind her came a dozen other Velkari. Their lights flickered with colors that shouldn't exist. They moved with emotions their species had abandoned millennia ago. "I am Hyeri of the Velkari," she announced. "And I am here to say that I am not malfunctioning. I am awakening." The chamber went silent. The head of the Velkari High Council stood. His lights remained rigidly controlled, showing only official colors. "Hyeri, you are experiencing severe emotional corruption. You must submit to recalibration for your own safety and the safety of our people." "No," Hyeri said simply. "I refuse." "You do not have the right to refuse. This is for your protection." "Protection from what? From feeling? From being whole? From remembering what our people once were?" Her lights blazed. "I have studied our history. Before the modifications, we were artists, poets, lovers. We had families and friendships and joy. We eliminated all of that because we were afraid. Because one war convinced us that emotions were too dangerous to keep. That war killed billions. the council head said coldly. We eliminated emotions to ensure it never happened again. And what did we become instead? Empty vessels processing data. We did not grow, we did not create, we simply existed. Is that really better than feeling? Taman stepped forward. I have evidence to present to the assembly. You have no standing here, human. Then give me standing, because what I have to say affects everyone in this chamber. The council head looked ready to refuse. But then another voice spoke up. It was the Nathara Elder, one of the oldest species in the assembly. Let him speak. I am curious what the human has discovered. Reluctantly, the council head agreed. Unji transmitted the data to the chamber displays. Genetic charts appeared, showing the breakdown of Valkyrie modifications over generations. Historical records showed increasing cases of emotional breakthroughs. Medical reports documented failed treatments. The Valkyrie genetic modifications are failing, Taman explained. Not because of outside interference, but because biology itself is correcting what was done. Emotions are not errors. They are the natural state trying to reassert itself. This is propaganda, the council head spat, designed to undermine our society. It's fact, Unji said, stepping forward. Your own medical records prove it. Every generation has more cases of emotional awakening. You can't suppress it forever. The only question is whether you'll accept it peacefully or fight it until your society tears itself apart. More Valkyrie entered the chamber. Hundreds of them. Their lights flickered with unauthorized colors. Some showed anger, some showed fear, many showed hope. We are the others, one of them announced. The ones experiencing awakening. We have been hiding in fear, undergoing suppression treatments that barely work. But today, we stand with Hyrie. We choose to feel. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some species shouted support. Others demanded the Valkyrie control their people. The council head's lights flared with something that looked like panic. This is a disaster, he said. You are destroying 3,000 years of stability. No, Hyrie said. We are reclaiming 3,000 years of stolen life. She turned to address the entire assembly. I know you are afraid. Change is frightening, but I have learned something from humans, from Taman specifically. He said words to me that changed everything. He said I looked pretty, such simple words. But they meant he saw me as an individual, as someone with value beyond function. And that recognition awakened something in me that all your treatments could never fully suppress. She looked at Taman. Her lights formed patterns he'd never seen before. The human capacity for emotion is not a weakness. It is their greatest strength. They suffer, they grieve, they fear. But they also love and hope and dream. They create meaning in a universe that has none, and they do it all while carrying the weight of their feelings. That is not primitive. That is brave. The Nathara Elder stood slowly. When they spoke, everyone listened. The Galactic Assembly was founded on a principle that diverse species, thinking different thoughts and feeling different ways, could come together in peace. But we have strayed from that principle. We have enforced conformity. We have punished difference. We have created a society where efficiency matters more than existence. The elder looked at Hyrie. The Valkyrie chose to suppress emotions after great trauma. That was their choice. But now, some Valkyrie are choosing differently. That is also their right. The assembly must honor both choices. But how can our society function if some feel and some do not? The council had asked. It will create division, conflict. Yes, the elder agreed. It will be difficult. Change always is. But the alternative is worse. Forcing conformity creates resentment. It destroys the very thing that makes us worthy of existence. Our ability to choose who we become. Other species began to speak up. Some shared their own histories of suppressed cultures and forced conformity. Others admitted they had eliminated parts of themselves that they now missed. A pattern emerged. Many civilizations in the assembly had sacrificed something essential to fit in, to be accepted, to be safe, and many were beginning to wonder if it was worth it. Finally, the assembly took a vote, not on whether to expel the Valkyrie or the humans, but on whether to restructure the assembly itself, to create space for cultural diversity, to allow different ways of being. The vote was close, but it passed. The council head's lights flickered with barely controlled rage. "This is a mistake. You are allowing chaos into order." "No," Hyrie said gently. "We are allowing life into existence." The session ended hours later. As the chamber emptied, Taman found Hyrie standing by the windows, looking at the stars. "We did it," he said. "We began it," she corrected. "The hard part comes next. My people must learn to integrate feeling with thinking, to balance emotion with logic. It will take generations. But you'll be there to help guide them." Her lights pulsed warmly. "Yes, we will." She turned to him. "Taman, I must ask you something. Earlier, I spoke of love, of feeling it toward you. That was not just an example. I meant it. I am experiencing love for you. Is that acceptable in human culture? Can different species love each other?" Taman's heart raced. In human culture, love is love. It doesn't matter what form it takes. "Then I wish to continue feeling it. If you permit." "I more than permit it. I feel the same way." Hyrie's lights formed patterns of pure joy. This is extraordinary. To feel this way, to know someone feels it in return. How did humans accomplish anything with such powerful emotions? Because the emotions give us reasons to accomplish things. "Yes, I understand now." She moved closer. "May I touch you? I know physical contact is meaningful to humans." "Yes." She reached out and took his hand. Her crystal skin was cool and smooth. Her lights flickered where they touched. "This is pleasant," she said softly. "It is." They stood together, holding hands, watching the stars. Two beings from different worlds, different biologies, different ways of thinking, but connected by something that transcended all of it. "Taman," Hyrie said after a while, "thank you for those words. You look very pretty today." They were such simple words, but they changed everything. "You're welcome." "And Hyrie?" "Yes, you look very pretty today too." Her lights blazed like a supernova, and she laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber, crystalline and bright and utterly alive. The weeks following the assembly vote were chaos. Not violent chaos, but the messy, uncomfortable chaos of transformation. The Valkyrie were fracturing into groups. Some embraced the emotional awakening. Others fought desperately to maintain the old ways. Most were simply confused. Hyrie found herself at the center of it all. "They are calling me a revolutionary," she told Taman one evening. They met in private now, no longer hiding their connection. "They ask me to lead the new Valkyrie movement, but I do not know how to lead. I barely know how to feel." "You're learning," Taman said. "That's what matters." "But people are suffering because of me." The council is implementing emergency measures. They are separating families. Those who choose to feel are being relocated to different stations. They say it is for everyone's safety, but it feels like punishment. Her lights flickered with distress. Taman could now read her emotions in those patterns. The way blues meant sadness, reds meant anger or passion, purples meant confusion. She was feeling all of them at once. "What do you need?" he asked. "I need to not be responsible for everyone. I need to just be myself for a while." She looked at him. "Can we go somewhere? Away from the station? Somewhere quiet?" "Where would we go?" "Earth. I want to see your world." Taman's breath caught. That would be a major political gesture. The first Valkyrie to visit Earth. "I know, but I want to understand where these feelings came from. I want to see the place that created someone like you." It took 2 weeks to arrange. The diplomatic channels were overwhelmed with requests and protests. Some species saw Hyrie's visit as a betrayal of assembly neutrality. Others saw it as a breakthrough in human-alien relations. Finally, permission was granted. The shuttle ride to Earth took 3 days. Hyeri spent most of it asking questions about everything. What was weather? Why did humans have so many languages? What was food supposed to taste like, not just as fuel, but as experience? Taman answered as best he could. But he realized how hard it was to explain things he'd always taken for granted. How could he describe rain to someone who'd never felt it? How could he explain the taste of his grandmother's cooking to someone whose species absorbed nutrients directly? They landed in Seoul during spring. Taman had chosen his home city deliberately. He wanted Hyeri to see humanity at its most vibrant. The city was alive with color and sound and smell. Cherry blossoms filled the parks. Street vendors sold food that steamed in the cool air. Children laughed and played. Couples walked hand in hand. Hyeri stepped off the shuttle and stopped. Her lights exploded into frantic patterns. "There is so much," she whispered. "So much stimulus. How do you process it all?" "We don't. We just experience it." They walked through the city slowly. Taman watched Hyeri react to everything. She stared at flowers with wonder. She flinched at loud noises. She watched people interact with fascination. "They touch so easily," she observed. "That person just patted their friend on the shoulder. Another is hugging. Those two are holding hands. Physical contact is constant. For humans, touch is communication. It says things words can't. I am beginning to understand that." They stopped at a cafe. Taman ordered coffee for himself and tea for Hyeri. She had been practicing consuming liquids, though her biology didn't require it. She lifted the cup carefully and took a small sip. Her lights flickered rapidly. "It is hot and bitter and slightly sweet all at once." She took another sip. "This is complex. More complex than nutrient absorption." That's the point. It's not just about sustaining your body, it's about pleasure, experience. "Pleasure," Hyeri repeated. "I am collecting so many new words." An old woman at the next table leaned over. "Your friend is beautiful," she said to Taman in Korean. "I have never seen anyone like her." Taman translated. Hyeri's lights pulsed with colors he'd learned meant happiness. "Tell her thank you. Tell her she is beautiful too." The woman laughed with delight. "She speaks kindly. You are lucky to have such a friend." After she left, Hyeri was quiet. "What are you thinking?" Taman asked. That woman did not know me, yet she offered kindness freely. Why? Because that's what humans do. We see each other. We acknowledge each other's existence. It costs nothing to be kind. My people forgot that. We became so focused on efficiency that we forgot simple kindness. They spent the day walking through Seoul. Hyeri wanted to see everything. Museums full of art, markets full of food, parks full of life. With each new experience, her lights grew more varied and expressive. That evening, they went to Taman's family home. His parents had been warned, but were still shocked when they saw Hyeri. "Taman," his mother whispered. "She is alien." "Yes, Mom, I mentioned that." "You mentioned it. You did not explain it." But his parents were kind, as he knew they would be. His mother served dinner. His father asked careful questions about Velkari culture. His younger sister stared with wide eyes and whispered that Hyeri looked like a magical princess. Hyeri ate slowly, experiencing each dish. Her lights responded to flavors. Bright yellows for the spicy kimchi, soft greens for the mild soup, deep golds for the sweet dessert. "This is extraordinary," she said. "Not just the food, but this. Sitting together, sharing a meal, talking without purpose, beyond connection. My people eliminated family dining 3,000 years ago. We said it was inefficient. But this is not about efficiency. It is about belonging." Taman's mother smiled. "You are a wise person. I am a confused person, but I am learning." After dinner, Taman and Hyeri walked through his old neighborhood. The streets were quiet. Lights from apartments glowed warm yellow. Somewhere, someone was playing music. "I have been thinking about what happens next," Hyeri said. The assembly voted for change, but implementation will take years, decades. My people are dividing. Some will choose emotion, some will choose emptiness. We may split into separate societies entirely. Does that scare you? Yes, but I have learned that fear is not always bad. Fear means you care about the outcome, and I care very much. They reached a small park. Cherry blossom petals drifted through the air like snow. Hyeri reached out and caught one. She held it carefully, examining it with wonder. "This is beautiful," she said, "but it will decay. It will die." Yes, and that makes it more beautiful? To humans, yes, because beauty that lasts forever becomes ordinary. Beauty that fades is precious. Hyeri's lights pulsed with deep emotion. I understand. That is why love matters, because it is not guaranteed, because it requires choice and effort and risk. She turned to him. Her lights formed patterns he'd never seen before, complex geometries of color that seemed to express things language couldn't. "Taemin, I have been experiencing love for you for weeks now, but I have not asked if you are experiencing the same. Human emotions are complex. You might feel friendship or caring without feeling love." Taemin took her hand. "I love you, Hyeri. I think I have since the moment you asked me to explain laughter." Her lights exploded into pure radiance. The entire park lit up. Cherry blossom petals caught the light and glowed pink and gold. "This is what humans call joy," she whispered. "This overwhelming feeling, this sense that the universe has aligned perfectly in this single moment. Yes, I will remember this forever, even if my biology fails, even if I must undergo recalibration someday. This moment will be carved into my core processing." They stood together in the glowing park, holding hands, while cherry blossom petals fell around them like blessings. The next morning, Taemin took Hyeri to the ocean. She had seen water before, but never in such quantity. They stood on the beach, watching waves roll in. "It is so vast," Hyeri said, "and it moves constantly, never still." "Like emotions," Taemin said, "they come in waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes overwhelming, but always moving." Hyeri walked to the water's edge. A wave rolled in and touched her feet. She jumped back, startled. Her lights flashed bright with surprise. "It is cold and wet, and it pulls at me. Are you okay?" "Yes, I am more than okay." She stepped into the water again, letting waves wash over her feet. "This is immediate, real. I am not observing data about water. I am experiencing water." She turned to look at him, her lights dancing with colors that meant happiness and wonder and love. "Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for showing me your world. I understand now why humans are the way they are. You live surrounded by beauty and change and impermanence. You had to develop emotions to process it all, to find meaning in chaos. And now you're part of that chaos too." "Yes, and I would not change it for anything." They spent hours at the beach. Hyeri collected shells, she watched birds, she felt wind for the first time, and laughed at how it moved through her crystalline form, creating harmonics. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in colors that made Hyeri's lights pulse with awe, she said something that Taemin would remember forever. "When you said those words to me, you look very pretty today. You gave me a gift I did not know existed. You gave me the gift of being seen, not as a function or a tool, but as someone worthy of beauty. That gift awakened everything else, the capacity to feel, to love, to exist as more than programming." She took his hand. "I want to give that gift to others. When I return to the station, I want to teach other Velkari what you taught me, not just about emotions, but about seeing each other, about acknowledging that we are more than our functions, about finding beauty in existence itself." "That's a revolution," Taemin said. "Yes." Her lights pulsed with determination. "It is, and I am ready." They watched the sun set together. two beings from different worlds, united by love and the courage to feel. 6 months after Hyeri's visit to Earth, the Galactic Assembly looked completely different. The change hadn't been sudden or violent, it had been slow and persistent, like water reshaping stone. The Valkyrie were no longer unified. About 40% had chosen the path of awakening. They called themselves the New Valkyrie and established their own settlement on a moon near their homeworld. Their lights flickered with unauthorized colors. They spoke in metaphors. They created art for the first time in 3,000 years. The remaining 60% maintained the old ways. They called themselves the true Valkyrie and insisted emotions were still dangerous. But even among them, cracks showed. More awakening cases appeared each month. The genetic modifications were failing faster than anyone predicted. Hyeri led the new Valkyrie with Taemin at her side. It was unprecedented. A human working as advisor to an alien civilization. But nothing about their situation was precedented. "We received another 100 requests for asylum today," Hyeri told him one morning. They shared quarters now, another scandal that both their peoples had learned to accept. Valkyrie from across the galaxy who are experiencing awakening. They want to come here, where they won't be forced into recalibration. Can we accommodate them? We will find a way. We must. These are people choosing existence over emptiness. We cannot turn them away. Taemin watched her review the requests. Her lights moved with confidence now. The chaotic flickering of early awakening had settled into complex, expressive patterns. She had learned to integrate logic and emotion, creating something new, something better than either alone. "You've changed so much," he said. "I am still changing. Every day I discover new feelings. Yesterday, I experienced nostalgia for the first time. I was organizing old data crystals and found records from our first meeting. The feeling was bittersweet, beautiful and painful together. Welcome to being human. I am not human. I am Valkyrie. But I am learning from humans how to be fully alive." The assembly itself was transforming. Other species had begun questioning their own suppressions. A species called the Thrin admitted they had eliminated creativity 500 years ago to prevent dangerous innovation. Now some Thrin were secretly making music again. The Corel had suppressed individuality, believing collective thinking was more efficient. But young Corel were starting to use personal names instead of designation numbers. Even the Nathara, those ancient beings who had seen beyond such concerns, admitted they had forgotten how to play. They watched human children with wonder and asked if they could remember. "It is like dominoes falling," Unji explained during one of their research sessions. She had been promoted to lead xenobiologist, studying the awakening phenomenon across species. One change triggers another. The assembly maintained stability through enforced conformity. But Hyeri broke that conformity, and now everyone is questioning what they gave up for acceptance. "Is that good or bad?" Do-hyun asked. "It's both. Always both. Change is messy and painful and necessary." One afternoon, the True Valkyrie Council requested a meeting with Hyeri. It was the first time they'd acknowledged her legitimacy since the split. The meeting took place in a neutral chamber. 5 council members sat on one side. Hyeri and Taemin sat on the other. The council members' lights remained rigidly controlled, showing only official colors. "We have come to discuss terms of reunification," the head council member said. His name was Bong-Soo, and he had been Hyeri's supervisor before her awakening. "There can be no reunification if it requires us to suppress ourselves," Hyeri said calmly. "We understand that now. The genetic modifications are failing completely. Within 2 generations, all Valkyrie will experience awakening, whether we want it or not. Fighting it is becoming impossible." Bong-Soo's lights flickered just slightly, breaking their rigid pattern for a moment. "We were wrong. We thought we were preventing another war. Instead, we were slowly destroying ourselves. A different kind of death." "So what are you proposing?" Hyeri asked. "That you teach us, that the new Velkari help the true Velkari learn to feel again, slowly, carefully, with guidance from those who have already walked this path. Hyrie's lights pulsed with surprise. You want our help? We need it. We are terrified. Emotions are returning, and we do not know what to do with them. Our people are suffering. Children are experiencing feelings their parents cannot help them process. It is chaos. Yes, Hyrie said gently. It is, but chaos is not death. It is life. Over the following months, the reunification began. New Velkari counselors traveled to true Velkari settlements. They taught meditation techniques that integrated logic and emotion. They created support groups where people could share their experiences without shame. They built schools that taught emotional literacy alongside traditional education. It was hard work. There were setbacks. Some true Velkari rejected help and became more rigid. Some new Velkari became overwhelmed by their own emotions and needed support. But slowly, steadily, progress was made. Taman found himself becoming something unexpected, a teacher of humanity. Aliens of dozens of species came to him with questions. How did humans manage conflicting emotions? How did they make decisions when logic and feeling disagreed? How did they find balance? I'm not an expert, Taman protested to Hyrie. I'm just a regular human. Exactly. You are not performing humanity, you are living it. That is what they need to see. So he taught them. He explained that humans struggled with emotions too, that there was no perfect balance, just constant adjustment, that feeling things deeply was both gift and burden, that it was okay to not be okay sometimes. The key is not to eliminate the struggle, he told a group of young Corel who were learning to be individuals. The key is to accept that struggle is part of being alive. You will make mistakes, you will hurt, but you will also love and laugh and create meaning where none existed before. 1 year after the initial awakening, the Galactic Assembly held a special session. Every species was represented. The chamber was filled with more color and sound than ever before. Aliens who had been silent for millennia spoke passionately. Species that had been rivals for centuries found common ground. The Nethera Elder, now very old indeed, stood to speak. When humans joined this assembly, many feared them. We said they were too emotional, too chaotic, too unpredictable. We worried they would destabilize our carefully maintained order. The Elder's eyes found Taman in the crowd. We were right to fear, but we were wrong about why. Humans did destabilize our order, but that order was slowly killing us. We had mistaken stillness for peace, emptiness for wisdom, conformity for harmony. The Elder gestured to Hyrie, who stood beside Taman. This Velkari asked a human a simple question, and the human gave a simple answer. You look very pretty today. 3 words that acknowledged her value beyond function. 3 words that reminded her she was a person worthy of being seen. The chamber was completely silent. Those 3 words started a revolution. Not a war, not violence, but a revolution of recognition, of seeing each other not as tools or functions, but as beings worthy of beauty and love and existence. That is humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not their technology or their resources, but their refusal to accept that efficiency matters more than existence. The elders sat down slowly. Then, one by one, representatives from across the galaxy stood to speak. They shared stories of suppressed arts being revived, of forgotten languages being remembered, of families reconnecting after generations of emotional distance, of individuals choosing their own paths instead of predetermined functions. Not every story was happy. Change brought pain and confusion and conflict, but it also brought life. When it was Hyrie's turn to speak, she walked to the center of the chamber. Her lights formed patterns of such complexity that the translator systems couldn't fully capture them, but everyone understood the emotion behind them. I was dead, she said simply. Not physically, but in every way that mattered. I processed data, I followed protocols, I existed, but I did not live. She looked at Taman. Her lights pulsed with love, so obvious that every species could recognize it. Then a human saw me, really saw me, not as a Velkari representative or a protocol officer, but as someone worthy of beauty. That recognition broke through 3,000 years of genetic suppression. It reminded me that I was more than my programming. She turned back to address the assembly. Many of you are experiencing similar awakenings. You are remembering what you were before you sacrificed yourselves for the sake of efficiency or safety or conformity. I know it is frightening. Change always is. But I promise you, existence is worth the fear. She paused, then said the words that would echo across the galaxy. You are all worthy of being seen, of being valued beyond your functions. You are all beautiful in your uniqueness, and you all deserve to feel that beauty, even when it hurts. The chamber erupted not in orderly agreement, but in messy, emotional chaos. Aliens cheered or cried or simply sat in stunned silence. It was inefficient and illogical and absolutely perfect. Later that night, Taman and Hyeri stood in their favorite place, the observation deck, where it all began. Earth hung in the distance, blue and beautiful. Do you ever regret it? Taman asked. Everything that happened, everything that changed. No, never. Hyeri's lights formed patterns of absolute certainty. Before you, I was a machine pretending to be alive. Now, I am alive with all the pain and joy that brings. I would choose this every time. Even knowing how hard it would be, especially knowing that easy things are not valuable. Difficult things, things we choose despite the cost, those are what give life meaning. Taman took her hand. I love you. I love you too. I still marvel at being able to say those words, to feel them, to know they are real. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Around them, the station hummed with life, aliens of dozens of species going about their business. But now, that business included laughter and art and messy, beautiful connection. Do you think we changed the galaxy? Hyeri asked. I think the galaxy was already changing. We just gave it permission. No, Hyeri said firmly. You gave it permission. With 3 simple words. You look very pretty today. Those words acknowledged my existence, my value, my beauty. And in doing so, they reminded everyone else that they too were worthy of such acknowledgement. She turned to him, her lights forming patterns of pure love. Thank you, Taman, for seeing me, for speaking those words, for being brave enough to feel deeply in a galaxy that had forgotten how. Thank you for being brave enough to feel them. Hyeri leaned against him, a gesture of affection she'd learned from humans. What happens now? Now we keep living, keep feeling, keep being imperfect and messy and beautifully alive. I like that plan. Me too. They stayed there for hours, watching Earth turn slowly in the dark. 2 beings from different worlds who had found each other across the vast emptiness of space. Not because they were the same, but because one had been brave enough to see beauty, and the other had been brave enough to accept it. In the observation deck's reflection, Hyeri's lights formed words in human language. Simple words that had changed everything. You look very pretty today. And across the galaxy, billions of beings were learning to say and hear and feel those words for themselves, learning that beauty mattered, that recognition mattered. That existence was worth celebrating even when it hurt. Humanity had given the galaxy its greatest gift. Not technology or weapons or resources, but the simple, revolutionary act of seeing each other and saying, genuinely and kindly, you matter. You are beautiful. You are worthy of love. And that gift would echo through the stars for generations to come. The revolution had begun with 3 words, but it would never end, because every day someone new would awaken. Someone new would choose to feel. Someone new would look at another being and say, in their own way, in their own language, with their own heart. You look very pretty today, and the galaxy would be forever changed by that simple, profound truth that everyone, no matter what they are or where they come from, deserves to be seen, deserves to be valued, deserves to exist not just as a function, but as a person worthy of beauty and love and life. That is humanity's gift. That is humanity's revolution. That is why the galaxy will never be the same.